What's going on, wrestling family? Welcome back to the channel. What we got here is 10 actual once in a lifetime WWE matches. Now, when I think about this, there is a certain match that has never happened that WWE can capitalize on right now. Well, not right now, but at some point in time in the future. A match between AJ Styles and the Super Saiyan Pastor Cody Rhodes, because they've never had a match against each other. As far as I remember, unless there's some dark matches out there that I have not seen. Of course, they did not face each other in New Japan. They were there at two different time periods. They did not face each other at WWE yet. So WWE has an opportunity to have a once in a lifetime match between the both of these. And both of these guys are great in the ring. So I only can assume that that match will be amazing. But anyway, this is about matches that actually happen, okay? So before we get into this, hit the subscribe button. Let's get into this.
Now, it's common in WWE for wrestlers to face each other time and time again. Due to the sheer number of shows that WWE produces in a calendar year, the chances of two wrestlers facing off more than once are extremely high. But from time to time, WWE actually delivers a match that only occurs once. There are several factors why the match in question could be a one-time deal. One of the wrestlers in the match could be a part-time talent and they have limited dates on their contract, or another reason could be that their match itself only took part to further a different story and never made logical sense for WWE to rebook the match.
True. Or the
Join
draft.
us now as
That could be a
looks at
case.
10 actual once-in-a-lifetime WWE matches. Be sure to subscribe and hit that
We're gonna
notification
skip
bell
right
for daily wrestling
into
videos
the
and
content.
The Rock versus Eddie Guerrero.
Oh,
On a
okay.
random episode of Raw in 2002,
That is true.
WWE delivered
Now
an
that I
epic
think about
dream
it.
match between The Rock and Eddie Guerrero. The match between the two all-time greats marked the
Hella
first
crazy.
and only time in WWE history that the two collided 1v1, and their chemistry was instant and memorable. The two worked incredibly well together in the ring, and there was a push online at the time to see the two have a featured feud against each other. The match was evidence that Guerrero was a legitimate main eventer, and it was time to push him to the next level in WWE. The Rock took to his Instagram page in 2019 to comment on the match, and as expected, the Great One praised the match and had lovely comments to make when it came to Eddie Guerrero. Check out Eddie's nasty rock bottom counter. He was a bad dude. Found this throwback gem of my world title match with one of the GOATs, Eddie Guerrero, insanely talented wrestler.
Absolutely.
I loved wrestling him and always admired his relentless in-ring style and intensity. Most importantly, he was a good man and taken from us way too early. Miss you and thanks for the house, brother. Number 9, Kurt Angle versus Batista.
Oh,
On paper,
yeah.
a rivalry between Kurt Angle and Batista made a ton of logical sense.
It did.
Angle had chemistry with just about everyone, and Batista was able to truly bring it in the ring when the time came. Shockingly, the two had only wrestled once in singles competition, and it occurred on Raw in 2005.
I love that belt, man. It's
The
my
match
favorite
was
belt.
brief, but what was presented on screen, the in-ring action was strong. The match broke down when Triple H and Ric Flair interfered, offering a disappointing end to a potentially show-stealing match. Shortly after the matchup, Batista's world champion was drafted to SmackDown, whilst Angle remained on Raw. If the two were featured on the same brand for more than a few months, then it would have been entirely possible that WWE would have delivered an extended rivalry between the two legends.
Man, looking at either one of those guys, how they look now, makes me feel so old, man. It made me feel so old.
Number 8, Rob Van Dam versus Rey Mysterio. Now, you would
Oh,
think that Rob Van Dam and Rey Mysterio would have wrestled a dozen times in WWE, especially when you take into consideration that the two were in WWE
two
simultaneously for a number
ECW
of
legends
years.
right there.
However, the reality is that the two have only wrestled once, and it came at the WWE versus ECW head-to-head show. RVD managed to get the win in a short yet enjoyable match, and it would have been nice for WWE to revisit the pairing and book them to have more matches on Raw or SmackDown. The likely reason why the match didn't occur more than once was because both were babyfaces for the entire time that they were in WWE concurrently.
Oh,
WWE keeps
okay.
babyface versus babyface matches as special as humanly possible, so it's unlikely that more matches between the two would have ever been on the drawing board. Number 7, Goldberg versus Shawn Michaels. It's well documented that Goldberg's WWE run between 2003 to 2004 wasn't the greatest thing in the world. Goldberg wrestled names such as The Rock, Chris Jericho and Triple H, and the match quality and offer was ultimately disappointing. One of the more forgotten matches of Goldberg's first WWE run was his 2003 match with Shawn Michaels on Raw. Going into the match, there was hope that Goldberg could deliver his best match to date, as after all this was HBK, and HBK having a bad match in 2003 was next to impossible. The match was fine, but the babyface versus babyface storytelling was awkward in places, and the two without question had a lack of chemistry.
Yeah.
WWE would also opt for a non-finish as Batista interfered in the match by attacking both men. Number
Yo, see, it's a couple of people that you have matches with that it's a guarantee that it's not going to be a bad match. Shawn Michaels, AJ Styles, and right now Seth Rollins. I'm sure there's a ton of other people, but those three people mainly. Like if you have a match with them, there's a guarantee that it's not going to be bad. But if you find your way to have a bad match with one of those individuals, specifically Shawn Michaels, either Shawn Michaels don't like you guys have no chemistry, or it's a lot to say about the other wrestler in the ring that you don't have it, kid. It's unfortunate.
6, Shawn Michaels versus Hulk Hogan. Icon versus Icon collided at SummerSlam in 2005 as Shawn Michaels took on Hulk Hogan for the first time ever. Now, this was a certified dream match and fans
This
were
match
curious
was
to see how the match
hilarious.
would play out. The one-time only match was never intended to be a one-time deal as he had planned to do a number of matches between the two with them exchanging wins. However, Hogan cancelled these plans and opted for one single match at the SummerSlam event. Infamously, HBK would take great offense to Hogan's attitude and he would proceed to hilariously oversell everything Hogan did in the match. Was it unprofessional? Well, it's
That
up
mic
for
was
debate,
crazy,
but
man.
it certainly made for a fascinating matchup. Whilst it was a letdown that Hogan versus HBK was a one-time deal, it wasn't all bad as for the feud, WWE would turn HBK heel for the first time since he returned to the company. Whilst this run would be brief due to Hogan dropping out of the storyline, HBK's heel work was exceptional, and he cut some of the most compelling villainous promos of his career during the time. Number 5.
You know what? One thing is, Vince McMahon hated when people like did stuff like what what Shawn Michaels did with the crazy overselling. He don't mind selling, but he used to get pissed off when people were like oversell and just do crazy stuff. So imagine if there was a triple threat match between Shawn Michaels, Dolph Ziggler, and Devon Dudley. Oh my God, Vince McMahon head would explode being pissed off at all the overselling, man. It would be a funny match, but it would be very unfortunate for all three of them.
Edge versus Kevin Owens. During Edge's final WWE run, he was able to have a number of dream matches with the likes of Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and even Finn Balor. However, one of the matches that fans urgently wanted to see out of Edge's run was a match with Kevin Owens. Unfortunately, the match has only occurred once in WWE history, and that took place at a live event in late 2021. The two faced.
That's why sometimes it's good to go to some of these live shows. I know they're not on TV and things like that, but if you don't make enough money, if you don't have the money to go to a regular show, or if you can't travel out to wherever those Raw and SmackDowns or even the pay-per-views are, go to the live events, man. You still can see some great matches, and some matches you probably won't see multiple times. Now, there's a high probability that a lot of those matches are going to be repeated everywhere on TV and things like that, but you just never know what you'll be able to see.
Off in a brutal steel cage match in Madison Square Garden, and judging by fan reports from those in attendance, the match was excellent. It was a massive shame that WWE never delivered the match on TV or on pay-per-view.
Yeah,
But with Edge now
that's
being
crazy.
a full-time AEW talent in what is said to be his final run in wrestling, the match is never likely to take place. Number 4, Jeff Hardy versus John Cena. In the summer of 2008, WWE decided to seemingly out of nowhere book a dream match for Raw. Jeff Hardy would face John Cena on the show, and at this point in time, Hardy's popularity had skyrocketed, so it was an interesting and bold creative move to book him to face the top guy in the company. This was the only time in both of their decorated careers that they faced one-on-one, and the match was one of the best TV matches of 2008. The contrast, their styles worked in their favour, and they delivered a fine match that could have potentially led to a rivalry between the two. Cena picked up the win, which wasn't exactly a surprise, but Hardy shined in the match, and it was presented as if Cena had worked extra hard to put Hardy down for the 3 count. It goes without saying that a featured feud between the two would have likely involved one of them turning heel, and WWE would have no desire to deliver that in the summer of 2008. Number 3, Triple H vs Daniel Bryan. It's rare for a WrestleMania event to include a one-time only, once-in-a-lifetime encounter. However, WrestleMania 30 was an exception to the rule. WrestleMania 30's opening match saw Triple H take on Daniel Bryan for the first time ever. This was the only time the two had ever wrestled, and the match was without a doubt one of the matches of the night, and arguably one of Triple H's finest matches ever. As always,
Yeah, I
Triple
agree with
H's
that.
heel work was captivating, and there was nothing better in 2014 than Bryan's babyface work. Unlike other matches on this list, WWE did book a rematch between the two for the next night on Raw. This match would be for Bryan's newly won WWE World title, however the match never managed to get going, as there was interference from the Authority and then the Shield, so it can't truly be labelled an official WWE matchup. Number 2,
That's true.
Brock Lesnar vs CM Punk.
Oh, I love this
When
match.
WWE booked
This
Brock
match was
Lesnar versus
fantastic,
CM Punk
bro.
for the 2013 SummerSlam event, Fans had high expectations. Lesnar traditionally was able to have outstanding matches with smaller opponents, and
Yep.
Punk was delivering classic after classic in 2013, already having notable matches with the likes of John Cena and The Undertaker in the respective year. The match itself was incredible, and it was even better than fans expected. Even though Punk lost, he looked like $1,000,000 as
He
Lesnar
did.
sold Punk's offense with conviction and meaning. It's a huge shame that Punk departed WWE in early 2014, as it would have been wonderful to see the two former world champions run it back, as there was a vocal push for a rematch for fans to see. All the one-match business aside, this is truly one of the greatest matches of both of their careers,
I
and the
agree.
match is going to be
I
continued to be
agree.
celebrated for many years to come.
That
And
match right there, it was like one of the few matches where I felt like the person I was rooting for, CM Punk, I just felt like he was gonna win and then get my hopes crushed by Brock Lesnar. And just from that moment, in the other matches, of course, I started to see the not the purpose, but more so what Brock Lesnar offers to the business. Because at first, I was a fan of his, but not a huge fan of Brock Lesnar because I was just like, all right, it's kind of the same thing, but you kind of understand what his position is as far as the business. And when I saw that match or the match against him and John Cena, like I'm like, this dude is doing some great stuff. This David and Goliath type thing, he does it well with him versus Finn Balor, him versus Daniel Bryan, like or Bryan Danielson at this point. So many good moments that I saw from this, but man, yeah, I'm kind of glad that CM Punk wasn't still around, even though the way that he exited wasn't great. But imagine if he was here during the time when Vince McMahon was like running WWE into the ground. We probably wouldn't have seen him for another 20, 30 years. Like I'm glad that things happen the way they happen. But anyways, let's continue.
number 1, Roman Reigns versus Batista. A Roman Reigns versus Batista is a matchup and a feud that could have made WWE a considerable amount of money. The problem is that the stars never aligned for a feud between the two, but the two did have a 1v1 showdown, and it came during the feud between The Shield and Evolution. During the acclaimed rivalry between the two factions, Reigns and Batista would face off in a singles match on Raw in 2014, and the match came to an end when both factions interfered. Whilst the match was presented as somewhat of a big deal, this was a few months before Reigns was given a substantial solo push, and unfortunately Batista would exit WWE just a few weeks after the matchup, meaning that WWE never had the option of booking a rematch between the two. But there you have it, folks. 10 actual
Pretty good list. It's a pretty good list, WrestleMania. What is this on the right corner? Oh, I already reacted to that. But yeah, we got to get that AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes match. It got to be on a big pay per view. It can't be one of the smaller pay per views. We got to have it on a big pay per view. I can't wait for that match to happen. Let's do it while AJ Styles is still, running around and kicking and things like that. But which I feel like that this guy, he looks young. Even it don't matter. He could be 100 years old. He'll still be wrestling like he's 35 years old. But let's get that match happening. But anyway, these matches are pretty good. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section if they left anything off this list. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Salute, peace. Have a